what if we could just completely rethink the classroom? Today, we're going to look at a new model for education that's really starting to get some attention. It's a model that's live, it's online, and it's all built around solving real-world problems. And honestly, it's a direct response to some of the huge challenges schools are staring down right now. So let's dive right in.
So here's the big puzzle schools are trying to solve. On one side, you've got this teacher shortage that just won't quit, and on the other, students and families are asking for, well, demanding more flexibility. And at first glance, those two things seem like they're completely at odds, right? So the real question is, can tech actually step in and be the bridge here? And can it do it without watering down the quality of education?
You know, for like 100 years, the basic idea of school hasn't changed all that much. But that old school model, it's really starting to feel the strain. We're seeing these big staffing shortages pretty much everywhere. And at the exact same time, there's this huge push for alternative ways to learn, something that can actually meet kids where they are. And look, this isn't just some abstract idea. This quote from a school director in Michigan, Tyler Burback, really brings it home. Schools are out there right now looking for better ways to do things. But what I think is really interesting is another thing he mentioned. He talked about how important it is for students to be able to go back and fix their mistakes. That idea, that learning is a process, not just a one-and-done grade, that's a huge piece of this puzzle we're putting together.
Okay, so how do you actually solve this? Well, the answer we're looking at is something called the live virtual classroom. And I want to be clear, this is not just another website where you turn in your homework. No, this is a synchronous experience. And that just means teachers and students are all there together live in real time.
And this difference is absolutely crucial to get. When most of us hear online class, you probably think of the asynchronous way, right? You log in whenever you want, watch some recorded videos, do the work on your own time. This is the complete opposite of that. It's synchronous. It's all about live, scheduled classes, actually talking to your teacher in real time, and working with a small group of your classmates. All right, so having a live classroom online is a great first step. But how do the students actually learn? What's the secret sauce? Well, the whole approach is built on two main ideas, and both of them are all about making learning something you do, not something that just happens to you. First up is something called project-based learning, or PBL for short. So instead of just, cramming facts for a test, students get a real problem to solve, and they work on it for a while. And here's the real aha moment. It changes the question from what facts do I need to memorize to what skills do I need to actually solve this thing? And that's how you make learning stick. You're using it for something real.
And that idea fits perfectly with the second part, how they measure progress. Forget about the stressful all-or-nothing final exam. This model uses what's called competency-based assessment. Basically, learning is a loop. You submit your work, you get real feedback from your teacher, you go back and make it better, and then you resubmit it. The whole point isn't just to get an A, it's to actually master the material. And that totally reframes failure, doesn't it? It's not the end. It's just part of the process of getting it right.
Okay, so let's pull back the curtain a little bit. How does this all actually work? What are the nuts and bolts that make a live virtual classroom run day in and day out? Okay, first thing, and this is a big one, class sizes are tiny. We're talking just 10 to 15 students in a class. And that's so important because it means you get real, personalized attention. You actually build a community. And let's be honest, those are usually the first things to disappear in a massive online course. And it's not just a series of video calls either. The whole system is built on this really solid support platform. So you have state-certified teachers actually teaching you, and they're backed up by this whole ecosystem. You've got 24/7 access to the platform to do your work, easy ways to message people, and even data analytics, so everyone knows exactly how you're progressing. And this isn't just for a few extra classes on the side. The curriculum here is the real deal. It covers all the core subjects, plus AP and honors classes. They even have NCAA-approved classes. And that tells you a lot, right? It shows this is a serious, legitimate path for students with big goals. Okay, so that's how it's all supposed to work in theory. But what about in the real world? Let's take a look at the actual impact, both through some hard numbers and from the perspective of a student who's actually been through it. First, let's talk about scale. They offer more than 52 different courses, so students get a ton of choice, pretty much what you'd expect from a regular school, which means they can really build an education that fits them. And remember, we talked about project-based learning? Well, get this. That's supported by a library of over 1,000 different projects. That's just a massive number of chances for students to take what they're learning and apply it to something real. But numbers are just one side of the coin. Let's hear from a student named Corbin. He called the program a game changer, and for him, it was all about the flexibility. It gave him an option that actually fit into his life and made his high school experience better. That's the human story behind all these numbers.
So when you step back and look at the whole picture, what does a model like this really mean for the future of school? Well, it's a huge shift away from that one-size-fits-all classroom we're all used to. By mixing real live teaching with smart technology, it somehow manages to tackle huge problems like the teacher shortage and give students totally new ways to learn. It's pretty incredible.
And really, it all comes down to one big, thought-provoking question. Forever, we've thought of school as a building, a physical place you go to. But what if that's just not the definition anymore? This whole model really forces us to ask, is the future of school a place? Or is it an experience? Something to chew on. Thanks for listening.